Hello guys, my name is Amaan. I'm a legal intern at LEXIS and Company. I'm pursuing 3 years of faculty of law at University. And the topic of my today's video is the constitutional history and the making of the constitution. So the evolution of the respective institution in the country began many decades before 26 January 1950 and continued unabated since. Its origins lie deeply embedded in the struggle for independence from Britain and in the movements for responsible and constitutional government in the princely state. So the Charter Act of 1853 provided some sort of separate legislature in the form of 12-member legislative council. The Indian Legislative Council Act 1861, which is described as the prime charter of the Indian legislature inaugurating the system of legislative devolution in India, was followed by the Indian Councils Act of 1892 and then 1909 respectively. So the Act of 1909, which was in implementation of the Morley Minto reforms, uh, introduced an element of election and representation in the council at the Union. However, none of these acts provided for the decisive stay to the native elements in the matter of legislation and administration. Then the Government of India Act of 1919, which gave effect to the Montague-Chenford's reform, established a bicameral legislature at the Union for the first time and introduced some elements of responsible form of government in the provinces. The national leaders found the 1919 reforms inadequate, unsatisfactory, and quite disappointing, and urged the British Parliament to take early steps to establish full responsible government in India in accordance with the principle of self-determination. For early reviews of the Government of India Act 1919, a resolution which later became the famous as the National Demand was adopted by the Central Legislative Assembly, which for the first time lent its support to the growing demand that the future of Constitution of India should be framed by the Indian themselves. So then in 1922, Mahatma Gandhi said that a demand in India's destiny should be determined by the Indians themselves. He added, Swaraj will not be a free gift to the British Parliament. It will be a declaration of India's full expression expressed through an act of parliament, but it will be merely a courteous ratification of the declared wish of the people of India. That a ratification will be a treaty to which Britain will be a party. The British Parliament, when the settlement comes, will ratify the wishes of the people of India as expressed through the freely chosen representatives. Then another significant development of the Indian constitutional history was the enactment of the Government of India Act of 1935. The Government of India Act 1935 occupies a significant place in the constitutional history of India, as the act has endeavored to give a written constitution to the country. However, the freedom fighters or people's representative had no role in the making of the document. It suffered from serious drawbacks. Even after the enactment of the 1935 Act, the central government in India by and large remained what is under the Act of 1919. Since the federal part of the 1935 Act never came into operation, only some modification in practice and procedure as necessitated by the introduction of autonomy in the provinces were made. Then the Quit India movement of 1942 lent a new thrust to the freedom struggle. Subsequently, there were several efforts to work out the transfer of power and provided for a constitutional reform for free India. As a part of this effort, the British Cabinet Mission arrived in India on 24 March 1946. They gave the purpose of the mission was to assist the viceroy in setting up in India the machinery when Indians could devise their own constitution during the negotiations. The impasses on the fundamental issues of the independence and of a representative constituent assembly for framing the future constitution unhindered by an external interference was reiterated. Then the cabinet mission presented on 16 May 1946 a scheme on its own, laying down the principles and procedures for framing the future constitution of India in respect of the formation of the constitution. In order to frame the constitution without delay, uh, the plan suggested to allot to each province a total number of seats in proportion to its population, roughly in the ratio of 1 to million, as the nearest substitute for representation by the adult suffrage, to divide the provincial allocation of seats between the main communities in each province in proportion to their population, and then to provide that the representative allotted to each company in a province shall be elected by the members of that community in its legislative assembly. Then, under a term of cabinet mission plan, the member of the Constitution Assembly were elected in July 1946. The Indian Independence Act of 1947 provided the Constitution Assembly will have unlimited powers to frame and adopt any constitution, even to supersede the Indian Independence Act itself, without the need for any further legislation on the part of British Parliament. Then Indian Independence Act terminated the British Parliament authority to legislate for the dominion on or after the 15 August 1947. The constitution thus became a full body fully representative of the states and provinces in India and fully sovereign of all the external authority. As a sovereign body, it is completed the task of framing the constitution of India and the best interest of the people without any outside interference. Then on 29 August in 1947, the drafting committee was elected by the Constituent Assembly under the chairman of B.R. Ambedkar for the preparing a draft constitution. The Constituent Assembly was able to complete the monumental task of drafting constitution for the independent India within a period of less than 3 years. 3 years. That was actually 2 years, 11 months, and 17 days to be exact. They produced a fine document handwritten in 19,000 words on 26 November 1949. It would proudly declare on behalf of the India that we do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves the constitution. In all, 248 members actually appended the signature to the constitution as finally passed. The original constitution contained a preamble, 935 articles, and 8 schedules. On that day, the constitution became ceased to exist, transforming itself into the provincial parliament until the new parliament was constituted in 1952. Thank you. That was all I wanted to say. Please remember, this video does not violate any guidelines of Par Council of India. Do not solicit to promote any of that event, and the sole purpose is educational. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see more of this content in future, and I'll be coming with the next video very soon. Thank you.